Hello, everyone. Good morning to you. I'm so excited to welcome you to another promising session as we are going to be taking another fresh look at the financial market. We've been monitoring four financial instruments since the beginning of the week. That is the USOil, the XAUUSD, the GBPUSD, and the USDJPY. Though we have been having some indecisive phases across the USD dollar pairs after a very positive start to the week for the US dollar. But during the later part of the week, we have been seeing some choppy situation which are not actually favoring the dollar. And with a week which is less with high impact event for the dollar, we are still trying to find an headway along the line. But for the US commodity, for the US oil commodity, we have been quite profitable so far this week. So we are going to be looking at all these instruments from a technical standpoint this morning as we get ourselves prepared for both the London and the New York session today. Welcome once again, and for those who are joining us here for the first time, you're highly welcome. And what we simply do here is a fallout of the general publication I normally share during the course of the weekend. So we have a bucket of instruments that I do an holistic and well detailed explanation on how to take advantage of the trading opportunity for the week, and I go as far as going into the higher time frame to look out for a long-term perspective on this instrument. And so what we simply do here after the publication is on Monday we do follow up details on this instrument as we continue to look out for more trading opportunity. So it is very important that you watch those videos, which I have the links in the description box below, and though they are like 10-15 minutes long, and there are timestamps there which you can easily navigate to whichever aspect of that video you want to be focusing on. So try and watch them after the live session so that you can have a background knowledge of how we got to this point, as basically during the live session I will be only focusing on the lower time frame. So with that being said, you are highly welcome again, and let's dive right into the business for today. So can anyone give me a hi in the comment section to confirm that the audio quality is good and the screen too is very nice? I noticed that yesterday after the recordings of the live session, I noticed that the audio quality was not that it was a little bit clippy, and I actually didn't observe it on my monitoring device while I was live. But if you can help me do some confirmation that the sound is very good and the visual is very good, I will really be grateful. So I will be looking in the comment section to see any of these feedbacks in that regard. So with that being said, here let's dive right into the business for today. And you all know what we look out for whenever we start the day. We want to take a fundamental perspective into the market to see what everyone in the market is actually looking forward to. And if we are looking at the economic calendar, our center of focus is highly on the high impact events on that will be affecting the instrument that we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week. So our center of focus on the economic calendar will be events that will be affecting the US dollar, the Japanese yen, and the pound sterling. And if we dive right into the economic calendar, all right, thank you very much, Akshay Amin. I'm very grateful for that feedback. Okay, so if we dive into the economic calendar here, today is Thursday, April 20, and looking at the high impact event that we are looking forward to today, we really do not have any high impact event affecting the pairs that we have been monitoring this week. But we have the ECB President Lagarde speech, that is the Europe Central Bank's president speech. Then we also have the Bank of Canada's governor to having a speech. So these are events that we really are not going to be focusing on. But for the fact that the Canadian dollar shares a correlation with the US oil, we might also want to look out to see what the health situation of the Canadian economy is, as this will also be giving us a clue into how the oil prices is going to be moving. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the chart and let's look at the market from a technical standpoint. So with that being said, let's dive into the chart, and as usual, the first commodity we are going to be looking at this morning is the US oil. And in fact, the US oil, I can say categorically that this is one of the most profitable trade for us this week, as price action has been moving swiftly in one particular direction without any choppy situations at all. Though we had a little choppy situation during the New York session yesterday, but it wasn't strong enough to bring in some bullish momentum in this market. As you can see, we have seen consistent lower lows and lower highs in this market, and as at this morning, we had our TP target hit at the $78 level. And look at how the week started for us on the US oil. We saw this simple flat channel here between the $82.60 level and the $82.20 area, which gave us a little indecisive phase around that area at the beginning of the week. And you all know what we look out for whenever we have this kind of simple setup. We want to see price action either break out of that resistant line of that channel, or break down the support line of that channel for a trading opportunity. Though I was thinking at the beginning of the week that if we consider the bullish momentum that led into this point, that there is a high chance that price will be going to the upside, but the market has its way of giving us signals to let us know that we are actually wrong. And at this point, we had our first sell position after citing the breakdown retest of that support line of that channel at the beginning of the week. And since the breakdown happened, we have seen house price action as spiral all the way to the downside, and we were lucky enough to had multiple entries on this one, as we identified key structures that we want to be looking forward to add more position structures, like the $81.75 level, the $81.50 area too, and then we also had the $81 level. And yesterday we had the $80.80 area, which was triggered during the early hours of yesterday. We also had the $80.35 level, $80 level here, and just lately we also had the breakdown of the $79.25 level, which we identified during the later part of yesterday's trading session. And if you have been with me on my trading view and Telegram platform, you would have gotten that update in that regard, as we looked forward to more selling opportunities during the later part of yesterday's trading session. So congrats to everyone who had been part of this profitable trade as we have right now. And for those who still have a sell position running, I know there are some of us who still have a sell position running at this point. I'm of the opinion that it is very, very necessary, as you all know what we do whenever we have price action move significantly well in our favor. We want to ensure that we lock in some profit, move our stop loss accordingly, so that we can protect the current profit that we have, as we don't want to lose out on whatever we had made so far. And at this particular point in time, so if you still have a sell position running at this point, I will be suggesting that you move your stop loss to somewhere right above the $78.70 level. And the reason why that is simply because of the structure that we have here. So above the $78.70 level seems most appropriate to secure your position if you do still have a sell position running at this point. So with that being said here, what is going to be our plans for today? What are we still looking forward to for today? Are we buying? Are we getting ready to buy the US oil? Or is this going to be a move that will continue to drop to find lower lows to the downside? So these are things we are going to be looking at today. So let's dive right into that 1 hour time frame and let's see how we can actually use the current market structure to decipher what our next line of action will be. So I would like to delete some of these illustrations here so that we can have a cleaner chart. Hold on a second, give me a moment please. Let me delete all this. Okay, so we have this one. So all these lines here, I don't think they are necessary at this point, so I will delete this one. Okay, I'll delete this one here. Okay, so I will now extend. Let me bring out my line chart to now do some reconnection of that trend line. So the trend line still remains very valid at this point. And if I project this trend line to form a support line of that lower lows in this market, we should be having something like this. So we have like a descending channel that price action has consistently been respecting. So at this point, we are going to be using this this channel here as our guide, and what we can see here is price had an attempt to break down of that support line of that descending channel during the New York session yesterday, and during the early hours of today we finally saw the breakdown of that trend line. So as we head into the New York and London session today, we are going to be using this trend line also as a yardstick for our trading activity. So now that we have the situation, let me zoom right into that current structure and let's look at this together and see. I hope you can see my screen. And if I bring out my line chart, we can see that we also have a structure prior to the breakdown of that support line of that descending channel there. So we have a structure here at the $78. Let me see, let me round that up to, okay, $78.70 level. So let's label that for the sake of clarity. So we had that structure figured out, and you saw what happened here during the early hours of today. This level was initially a support line during the New York session yesterday, and we saw that level broken to the downside. So what I'm going to be looking at this point is to see how price action will be reacting to that $78 level, which could take some couple of hours to finally manifest. But one thing for sure around this area in the last couple of hours now is the fact that we have been seeing some buy pressure resume around this area, which could likely be a sign that we want to be going through a retracement phase. And if that happens, we are going to see how price action will react to that trend line. Then we also have a structure here at the $78.70 level, which we are also going to be focusing on to see how price action will be reacting to that level. So let me place this sell breakdown retest illustration here, and if price action breaks out of that structure, then we are going to be looking at how it will react to the $79.25 level, which probably might lead into a situation where price will go into a choppy situation respecting that trend line again to inside another wave of bearish momentum. And if it so happens that price action breaks above that structure and buy pressure resumes above that level, then we could be thinking of buying the US oil at that point, as the breakout of that trend line will definitely have given us a signal that the trend line may no longer have that capacity to continue to push price to the downside. So these are things that we are going to be looking at this today on the US oil. So we want to be very, very patient today. We are quite profitable, so there is no compulsion to force ourselves into any trade at this particular point in time. And for those who still have a sell position, I've told us all to secure the current position by moving our stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit here, and let's remain patient to see how price action will be reacting to this current structure to be able to determine if we are going to be adding more sell position to our existing trade or we are going to be buying at any point in time. So we shall remain patient here and watch out to see how price action will be reacting to the $78 level. Then if price action does not climb up instead and it continues to find lower lows at this point, I would want to see, we already have a breakdown of the structure here. I would want to see selling pressure below the $78 level, which will be a signal that buyers are finding it very difficult to climb above that $78 level. And if that is going to be the case, then we would have no choice than to start looking out for selling opportunities where the breakdown retest of that structure will incite a bearish move to the downside. So these are things that we are going to be looking at, but be rest assured that I will be with you on my public platform right in the comment section, where I will be giving you an update as we continue to monitor price action from this current structure. So that is my view here on the US oil. So we have agreed to remain patient at this point, waiting out for structures to mature before we want to be taking any positions. And for those who have a sell position, ensure you have moved your stop loss, lock in some profit, and let's see how things fall out in the next couple of hours. If you have any questions whatsoever, let me know in the comment section. If you need me to make some clarity to an aspect you really did not understand, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So with that being said, we'll be moving on to the next pair, and the next pair we are going to be looking at this morning is the GBPUSD. Now, the GBPUSD had been quite interesting in the last 48 hours in this market, as we have been witnessing such a very choppy situation where buyers and sellers has been struggling to make a statement in this market. And if you look at this closely, you would have observed that since Tuesday, I guess, yes, since Tuesday, we have witnessed a situation where price action has been trapped within the 1.2400 level and the 1.24700 area to further emphasize the indecision in this market. Though we have price action trading above our key level, remember we identified this key level at the beginning of the week at the 1.2400 level, where we said price action trading above that structure definitely will be a sign that we could be looking out for buying opportunity. But if it breaks down that structure, we shall be selling the GBPUSD. But in the last 48 hours, obviously, price action has been trading above that structure, giving us a clue that buyers are still very, very strong in this market. And if you recall, a couple of days ago, we had a sell window identified between the 1.25 and the 1.24500 level, where we were thinking that price might start finding selling pressure around that area. And the basis behind this sell window we identified here was as a result of that impulsive move that started on Friday of last week. And the idea behind this was that following the impulsive move to the downside after price action tested the 1.23500 zone, the buy pressure here we said might likely be a retracement of that previous impulse leg, where the appearance of selling pressure within the sell window will probably incite a bearish move to the downside. And this was what we were expecting, at least in the last 48 hours in this market. Though we have been seeing some bearish traction actually around that sell window. As if I zoom in right now into that structure, you would have noticed that throughout the course of yesterday's trading session, we saw that as soon as price got into the structure, we have been witnessing sharp rejection of that area. And if you look at the nature of the candle around that area, you would have seen a couple of shooting star candles, which is a sign that sellers are really present at that particular point in time. And with the situation here and with the sell window we identified there is a likelihood that sellers could come in at any point in time. As you can see, buyers are finding it very, very difficult to even break out of that 1.24700 level. And I'm of the opinion here that any breakout of this old channel at any point in time is going to be very, very massive. And it is very important that we position ourselves in such a way that we can catch that move when it finally happens. So on the GBPUSD, we don't have any positions running at this particular point in time as we continue to monitor this price action. So what are our plans for today? What are we going to be looking at to take advantage of any trading opportunity today? So what I'm going to be doing right now is to zoom out and first of all acknowledge the fact that price action has been bullish since the beginning of the week. As you can see, we have been witnessing higher lows in this market. So we are going to connect the series of higher lows here using our trend line, and then from that point we can start thinking of how to take advantage of this. So if we connect the series of higher lows, we can see we have a new trend line now. And let's do this quickly before, and we should make it a little bit thicker to emphasize the importance of that trend line for us today. And bring back our candle chart, do some little readjustments so that it can capture majority of the pivot lows here. And here we go, we have a beautiful trend line after we have connected the series of higher lows. Now, so what this simply means right now is that this trend line will continue to be our yardstick for trading activity today. And how do we intend to use this trend line as we continue to monitor price action? Well, it's obvious that as long as price remain above that trend line, we wouldn't be thinking of selling the GBPUSD. But because of the sell pressure we have been noticing below the 1.2470 level, we need to be very careful about thinking of buying the GBPUSD. So let's talk about what to look out for to buy the GBPUSD at this particular point in time. Well, for me, if you look at the structure here yesterday, we had this resistant line figured out within that sell window, which is the 1.24700 level, which is also a very strong psychological level. And personally, I would rather see price action break out of that 1.2470 level, which happens to be the resistant line of this old flat channel that is going on around this area. So a breakout of the 1.2470 level will give me a signal that buyers are likely coming in here, taking out all the sell positions here, and we still need some liquidity for us to confirm that buyers are actually strong. And for liquidity to reflect on the chart, we want to be seeing something like a breakout, retest of structure like buying pressure around or above the 1.2470 level for us to be able to be part of that move to the upside. And personally, I'm of the opinion that if we do have a breakout of that level, it's going to be very massive to the upside. So I will suggest that why not risk a breakout of that structure outrightly, and then we have a stop loss of about 40 pips there, about 45 pips. Let's make it as huge as possible so that it can contain any retracement or retest back of structure. So in this regard, because we're expecting a massive move at the breakout of the structure, let's have a buy stop order above the 1.2470 level, and let's give some room for price action to breed, hereby having a stop loss somewhere right close to the 1.242 area, which will be dovetailing to about 40 to 45 pip stop loss. And so if price action breaks out of that structure and we start seeing some retest of level, probably price coming back to gather some momentum, then it will still fall within our range of stop loss before another wave of bullish momentum will happen. So that is how we want to be buying the GBPUSD today. So anywhere above the 1.247 seems most appropriate at this particular point in time. Now, in as much as we are looking out for buying opportunity here, we also want to consider the potentials of sellers, which for me is still looking very, very possible at this point. And if we take into consideration what happened during the later part of last week's trading session, where we witnessed this impulsive move to the downside, I'm still holding on to that expectation of price action going through a retracement phase. And as you can see here, we have been witnessing selling pressure within that sell window we identified on Tuesday. And for me, at this particular point in time, I want to see price action break down that trend line to give me a signal that we are going bearish in this market. So a breakdown of that trend line would have given us a sign that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to hold that bullish momentum. And if a breakdown of that trend line happens, it will have been the first time price action will be breaking down of that trend line this week, and that will be a beautiful signal for us to anticipate a bearish move to the downside. So we could wait for price action to give us further confirmation in the form of a retest of that structure, where the appearance of selling pressure on our lower time frame will give us more confirmation to join that decline to the downside. And if it so happens that price action breaks down that our key level that we identified at the beginning of the week at the 1.2400 level, we'll definitely want to be adding more position to our existing trade. So let's keep these options alive in our mind, and we continue to monitor price action, waiting for the structures to mature before we plan to join any of these opportunities. So on the GBPUSD2 as well, because of these choppy situations, we need a whole lot of patience around this area for the structure to mature before we can join any potential opportunity. But be rest assured, I'm with you right in the comment section on my public platform as we continue to monitor price action, and if there are any scenarios that is lining up for a potential opportunity, definitely I will be sharing it with you on my public platform. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know right in the comment section, as I will be moving on to the next pair right now. So the next pair we are going to be looking at today is the XAUUSD. We have had some selling positions at the beginning of the week on the XAUUSD, and so we had the situation where price action started the week we saw this consolidation phase between the $2,006 level and the 1,996, after which we saw the breakout of that structure. This was just right before the live session on Monday, and we said we are going to be looking forward to see how price action reacts to the $2,006 level to decide if we are going to be selling or joining the trend continuation to the upside. And to further buttress that and make things more simple for us to be able to identify a potential trading opportunity. I was able to identify a simple setup here on the 50 minutes time frame. Let's see if we still have that setup there, or we could just, okay, let's look at the commentaries on the XAUUSD on my trading view platform, so that we can see how we anticipated that selling opportunity at the beginning of the week. So hold on a second, let's this loads up. Okay,
Hello.
all right, so this was how we have been monitoring price action since the beginning of this week. So this was our live session on Monday. This was the fallout from the live session, and this is the update we had on the 15 minutes time frame, looking out for selling opportunities when price action breaks down that $2007 mark. And we also thought of buying opportunity above the $2010.50 level. And as you can see here, we had that position triggered, and it was at this point we had our first sell position for the week on the XAUUSD. So we had some more opportunities as we continue to add more position as price action continued to break down key structures, as you can see here. And not until a couple of days ago we begin to see some buy pressure resume, which we took advantage of. And what happened after was quite interesting, as we saw another sell momentum come in here. So prior to yesterday's live session, we had a sell stop order below the $2001 mark, just in case price action takes us out of that buy position. And we had that position triggered. Price action moved significantly well in our favor, and I think we were able to close in with about close to 400 pips on that move, as we had multiple entries here. And during the later part of yesterday, I told us all that we should secure all buy sell positions, and at this point we begin to notice some buy pressure resume in this market. So we have the sell window identified here after taking into consideration the impulsive move that led to the downside. So we used our retracement tool. I will be showing you that on the live chat in a moment, and this is what we have been witnessing here. So let's go back into the live chat here and go into the chat so we can see. Right, so this is where we were, and as at yesterday we were part of this bearish move as price action dropped below the $2000 mark, and it will move all the way down. Price moved about 300 pips on the first position, and then on the second position here it moved about 250 pips, and on this third position here it moved about 170 pips. So we have been quite profitable on the XAUUSD, and the appearance of this bullish momentum here, I actually did not take this. We did not take this. It wasn't part of our plan, as I was of the opinion that this is more or less a retracement of that impulsive move that started a couple of days ago. So what I did here was to bring out my Fibonacci retracement tool, run it through the previous impulse leg, and what we have here, we aim at an area between the 50 and the 78.6%. Hold on a second. This was where price action started this week. Okay, so we aim at an area between the 78.6 and the 50% retracement of that impulse leg, making that area our sell window. So I'm expecting that price action will culminate this retracement within the structure, where I want to start seeing signs that a culmination is actually happening in the form of a reversal pattern, selling pressure, whichever case it may be. And you can see one thing that makes this whole sell window more interesting is the fact that it shares a beautiful confluence with that $2000 mark. Remember how important that level is. If you had watched my video on the XAUUSD during the course of the weekend, I laid much emphasis on how the $2000 mark will be serving as our yardstick for trading activity this week. So we said if price action trades below that structure or breaks down that structure, we are looking out for selling opportunity. And if it happens the price action breaks above that level, we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity. So it was a very important key level for the week, and look at how it shares a beautiful confluence with that sell window we have here. And now, coupled with the fact that a breakdown of the structure happened here a couple of yesterday, you know, from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakdown of structure, we expect price to come back, retest the structure. Continued selling pressure around that area has a high chance of inciting another wave of bearish momentum, and that is what I'm expecting at this particular point in time. So I will continue to monitor how price action will be reacting to the structure. However, yesterday we had a sell position triggered here yesterday at the 1,992, hoping that price action will continue to the downside, respecting that trend line one more time. But unfortunately, we were taken out of that position at a loss. And here we are again. We will continue to remain patient at this point. Let's see how price action will react to this structure. And we have a trend line which has been guiding this bearish momentum since the beginning of the week, and we can see what happened a couple of hours ago. We saw the breakout of that trend line. So will this turn out to be a true breakout, or is going to be a false breakout? We don't know yet, but it depends on how price action reacts to that $2,000 mark. That will determine that this is a true breakout or false breakout. So in the last 2-3 hours now, we have been seeing selling pressure below that $2,000 level. So for me at this point, we're at a critical point where we have a huge consolidation phase in this market, as we want to see how price action will be reacting to this level. So for me, if selling pressure continues, I want to see price action drop back below the trend line for me to join another wave of bearish momentum. So I have replaced the sell stop order yesterday below the 1,992, hoping that price action will continue to the downside from that level. And if it does, we want to have our sell position triggered, and we still have some structures here that will welcome more selling opportunities in this market, depending on how price action plays out following the breakdown of the 1,992. So sell stop order below the 1,992 here. Let's see how price action plays out at that level. Now, if price action climbs above the $2,000 mark, then we want to be seeing this as a sign that buyers are probably going to be beginning another wave of bullish momentum. And considering the fact that price action has broken out of this trend line, I'm of the opinion that if a breakout of the $2,000 level happens at this point, we might likely be seeing a bullish momentum from that point. So there are two ways we can take advantage of that bullish momentum. You can risk it if you already have made a lot this week. Remember, we had like a couple of sell positions at the beginning of the week. So if you are taking advantage of those, hold the opportunities on that sell position, you would have made some incremental growth on your portfolio size, and you can afford to do some risk by putting a buy stop order above the $2,000 mark. So we could have a buy stop order above the $2,000 mark with a stop loss anywhere right above that 1992 level. That will be giving us about 70 pips stop loss. That is why it's going to be wide, because we want to give room, because after the breakout happens, there is still a chance that price could still come back into the structure before that trend continuation happens. So we want to give a whole lot of room for price action to break. That is why we are having such a wide stop loss around that area. So that's if you're having a buy stop order above that level, that is how the stop loss is going to be for this case. Then another thing that we could do here, especially for conscious traders, you would want to wait for a retest of structure to happen. So a breakout of that structure, first of all, then we scale down to our lower time frame, like your 5 minutes, your 10 minutes, or 15 minutes time frame. Now look out for a retest of that level, signs that buyers are gradually gaining some momentum, you will see signs that sellers are finding it difficult to continue to the downside. And if we can capture that, then we get ready to be part of this move, where a further breakout of the $2007 level will welcome more buying opportunity in this market. So that is what we are going to be looking at to buy the XAUUSD. So in summary, above the $2,000 mark is what we are looking forward to for buying opportunity, and below the 1,992, where if price action breaks below the 1,992, then we would have had a situation where price is back within the sell territory right below the trend line. So let's see how this plays out in the next couple of hours, and definitely I will be with you in the comment section on my TradingView platform to give you an update on what I think could happen from that structure. Then another thing I also saw here is this trend line here. So let's continue to see how price action reacts to the structure going forward. Now moving on to the last pair for today, which is the USDJPY. So yesterday we had a buy position yesterday, which actually moved significantly well in our favor before the sell pressure resumed around the 135.100 level. And remember, we are still sitting right above that neckline we identified on the daily time frame. So you might be asking me, what neckline are we talking about? And for the sake of those who are not part of our live session yesterday or a couple of days ago, let's run through that daily time frame so that you can have a better perspective into what we are talking about here. So here we are on the daily time frame, and I will just zoom right into the current structure that we are taking into consideration here, and that is the fact that price action broke out of that trend line during the month of February, and that was a signal that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to hold that bearish momentum. And you all know from a technical standpoint that whenever price action breaks out a key structure like this, we expect that at one point in time price will come back, do a retest of that structure, and as you can see, we had a couple of retests of that level before price action transitioned into a potential reversal pattern. So with a reversal pattern, potential reversal pattern identified, we also spotted this neckline area at the 133.800 level, where we were looking out for a breakout of that structure to confirm the validity of this old reversal pattern that we have here. And since the beginning of this week, we saw the breakout of the structure, which we were lucky enough to be part of that buy position, as we were part of this move all the way as price action moved about over 100 pips before we begin to see selling pressure resume in this market. So at this point in time, we are still right above the neckline, and for me personally, if I start seeing trend continuation patterns along this area today, I will definitely have no choice than to look out for more buying opportunity. At this point in time, it's very dicey to be thinking of selling opportunity, especially where price action is right above that neckline. But if we see something contrary that supports a bearish momentum, we are going to be taking it. But let's scale down to the lower time frame, as we are going to be seeing things more clearly at that time frame. So when we scale down to the 1 hour time frame here, things become a little bit clearer. And look at the structure we have here on the 1 hour time frame, and this is the neckline area we identified on the daily time frame. As you can see, price action still remains above that trend line. Then there is one thing I was able to spot this morning when I was studying this chart, and that is this trend line that has been supporting this bullish momentum since the beginning of the week. And as you can see here, price action still remains above that trend line to further emphasize the strength of the buyers at this particular point in time. However, the appearance of selling pressure at the 135.100 level is more of a concern at this point. As you can see, since price action tested the 135.100, we saw a candle that closed in the form of a shooting star candle, which from a technical standpoint is a sign that reveals the presence of sellers at this particular point in time. And since then, price has been finding lower highs. As you can see, price has found it very difficult to break out of that previous structure, which for me is a sign that sellers are gradually gaining some momentum. But for the fact that we are above the neckline at the 133.800 and at the same time we are above that bullish trend line, we still have a chance that buyers still have an opportunity in this market. So they just need to gain some momentum to push price to the upside. And remember, we also have a structure here at the 134.550, which guided our trading activity a couple of days ago. We saw selling pressure here, and yesterday we saw the breakout retest of the structure. And as you can see here, in the last 24 hours, this area has been a strong buying niche in this market, as every attempt by the sellers to break down that structure has been met with strong resistance from the buyers. So with that identification here, we want to consider this area as our temporary demand zone, at least for the meantime. So let us label it, and for the sake of visual understanding, so let's label it temporary demand zone. So we are going to be using this platform here as a guide for our trading activity today. So if price action remains above that temporary demand zone, we'll feel comfortable in our buy position. So if you have a buy position running at this particular point in time, you can put your stop loss somewhere right below that temporary demand zone. For me, I'm considering around the 134.200 level, which is about 25 pips thereabout, somewhere around that area. And let's see how this is going to go from this point. But if you are not yet in this trade, it's okay. We still need some confirmation to happen actually, and that is because of this whole sell pressure we have been witnessing here in the last 24 hours. So to guide our trading activity today, to make us feel comfortable in a buy position, we want to acknowledge the sell pressure in this market. And if I bring out my line chart, the trend line here doesn't seem reasonable at this point, as I don't think the price action using the line chart is mature enough to identify that structure. Let's look at what happens if we bring back our candle chart. So we have something like this. Okay, so we can still use it. We can still use it. So what I'm going to personally see here that will give me some confirmation that buyers are might likely come in is to see price action break out of that trend line. Then appearance of buy pressure above that structure will give me that leverage to be part of that bullish momentum to the upside. And if a further breakout of the 135.100 level happens, then I will definitely want to be adding more position to my existing trade. And to make things a little bit easier, so we can have a platform upon which we can be part of that bullish momentum. So I will be having the structure here at the 133.750. Hold on a second. 133.750. So let's label that 133.750. Okay, that's beautiful. So anywhere above the 133.750 at this point would rather confirm that buyers are gradually gaining some momentum. But I want to see a breakout first of all, then scale down to your lower time frame. Then I will see price do a retest of structure where I start seeing signs that sellers are finding it difficult to break down the 133.750. Then I will feel confident at the breakout retest of structure to join that trend continuation to the upside. So that is how I will be trading up buying the USDJPY for today. However, if price action does not climb up as expected and instead it continues to drop to the downside, then at this point I will be looking out for selling opportunities as soon as we have a breakdown retest of that trend line. And as you can see here, if a breakdown of the trend line happens, then price would also have broken down that demand zone, hereby taking out all the buy positions around this area to give us a confirmation that sellers are gradually gaining some momentum. A retest of structure will further give us a confirmation to add more sell position to our existing trade. So that is my view here on the USDJPY. I will be with you in the comment section on both my public platform, that is the Trading View, and the Telegram platform as we continue to monitor price action. It has been a wonderful moment with you guys today, and I hope you are able to gain one or two things in anticipation of both the London and the New York session, and we were able to simulate all the possible scenarios that is likely going to be happening today. And I hope you will be able to use this as a tool whenever we get into the trading session. Do have a wonderful day, everyone, and I hope to see you right in the comment section as we continue to monitor price action. Bye bye.